The wind blew across the frozen ground of the colony, carrying with it dust made of ice and ash. The sky above was gray and heavy. The sun was nothing more than a pale light hidden behind the storm clouds. The colony itself looked broken, its walls cracked, its houses cold and empty. This place had once been promised as a land of hope, but now it was nothing more than a graveyard of dreams. In the middle of this place lived a woman named Lyra. She held her little daughter close. The child was weak, her face pale, her tiny feet purple from the bitter cold. Lyra wrapped every cloth she had around the child, but it was not enough. The colony had no real heating anymore, no working systems, only scraps of metal and fire that burned out too quickly. Lyra walked through the streets, her arms trembling, her child whispering softly, "Mama, I am hungry." The words stabbed her like knives. She had no answer, no food to give. Her eyes filled with tears, she whispered back, "Just hold on, my love, I will find something." Her steps dragged, but her will kept her moving. The colony's outpost stood like a dark tower near the edge of the camp. Inside were the alien guards, tall creatures with sharp armor and cruel eyes. They controlled all the food, all the medicine, all the warmth. Humans were not allowed to own much. They had to beg for every scrap. The aliens enjoyed the begging. They fed on it like wolves. Lyra entered the outpost, her voice shaking. "Please, one hot meal for my daughter. Just one meal. She cannot walk. She cannot breathe well. Her feet are turning purple." Her words echoed in the large hall. The guards looked at her with cold amusement. One of them, a tall alien with silver skin and glowing eyes, laughed harshly. "Humans, always begging, always weak. What will you give us in return, woman?" His voice was deep and cruel. Lyra's face burned with shame. Her arms tightened around her daughter. She whispered with a trembling voice, "I have nothing. Nothing but myself. If it means my child can eat tonight, then take me, but feed her." Her words were heavy, her soul shaking with fear. The aliens laughed even louder, their voices cruel and sharp. They enjoyed her suffering. They enjoyed her tears. One of them moved closer, as if ready to take her at her word. The child whimpered softly, hiding her face in her mother's chest. But then, from the shadows of the outpost, another voice spoke, a human voice, deep and calm. "That is enough." The sound silenced the hall. The aliens turned, their cruel smiles fading slightly. It was a man, tall and strong, his coat torn but his eyes burning like fire. He looked at Lyra and her child with a kind of silent fury. Then he turned his gaze to the aliens, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. "You will give them food, now." The silver-skinned alien narrowed his glowing eyes. "And who are you to command us, human?" His words dripped with scorn. The man stepped forward, his boots echoing on the stone floor. "I am nothing you should fear," he said quietly. But his eyes told a different story. They spoke of battles long past, of scars hidden under his clothes, of memories of war. Lyra held her child tighter, her heart racing. She could not understand why this stranger would help her. No one ever helped. Not here, not under alien rule. But there he stood, unmoving, unafraid. The alien commander laughed again, but there was less strength in it now. "You are brave, human, but bravery does not feed the weak, nor does it keep you alive." He waved his hand, signaling his guards to move closer. The man did not move back. His voice was steady. "If you harm them, you will regret it." Something in his voice, something in the way he stood, made the guards hesitate. For a moment, silence filled the outpost. The storm outside roared against the walls. Finally, the alien commander sneered, "Take your scraps and leave, but remember, human, weakness is punished here." With a gesture, he ordered one of the guards to throw a small pack of food onto the floor. The man picked it up, then walked over to Lyra, kneeling so his eyes were level with hers. He handed her the pack, his voice softer now. "Feed your daughter. She needs strength." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "Why? Why would you help us?" The man looked at her for a long moment, then answered, "Because no mother should have to beg for her child's life." As Lyra clutched the food, holding her daughter close, a spark lit inside her heart, something she thought had died long ago. Hope, small but burning. The storm outside still raged, the colony still suffered, but now something had changed. The man stood once more, turning to face the aliens, his eyes unbroken. "This is not the end," he said softly, almost like a promise. The aliens laughed again, but unease lingered in their eyes. And outside, the frozen colony waited, unaware that the first spark of rebellion had just been lit. The colony slept under the endless storm, snow and ash falling together like broken glass. The air was sharp and heavy, each breath cut the lungs. Inside the broken shelters, people curled together for warmth, their eyes hollow, their hearts tired. Lyra sat in the corner of her shelter, her daughter wrapped tightly in a cloth. The little girl had eaten from the food pack. Her cheeks had color again, her eyes half closed in fragile peace. Lyra stroked her hair gently, whispering thanks to the stranger who had saved them. She still did not know his name, only his face, carved with scars and shadows. That night, when the winds were loud and the cold pressed harder, there was a knock on her door. Slow, firm. She opened it to see the same man, his eyes scanning the room quickly before speaking. "You should not have offered yourself like that," he said quietly, his voice like stone. "They would have taken you, and they would have broken you." Lyra lowered her eyes, shame burning inside her. "I had no choice. My child was dying. I would give anything for her." The man's jaw tightened, his hands clenching into fists. "That is exactly what they want, for humans to believe they must give everything just to survive. They enjoy watching us crawl." His words carried fire but also sorrow. "Who are you?" Lyra asked softly. "Why did you help me? No one helps here. Not anymore." For a long moment he was silent. Then he answered, "My name is Kyle. I was a soldier once. I fought in the human wars, before the colonies fell, before we were broken." His eyes darkened, as if memories clawed at him from the past. Lyra stared at him, the name echoing in her mind. There had been whispers once, stories told in the cold nights, about warriors who stood against alien armies, about men who vanished after the battles were lost. Was he truly one of them? Kale turned his gaze to her daughter, sleeping now, breathing easier. "I cannot watch them crush us anymore. I thought I could hide. I thought I could forget, but tonight reminded me, the fight is not over." His words lit something inside her, but also fear. "The aliens are too strong, Kale. They control everything. The food, the air, even the ground we walk on. No one dares fight." Kale leaned closer, his voice steady. "Every empire falls, Lyra. Every tyrant believes they cannot be broken, until one day they are. But it begins with a choice, a single choice to resist." Outside, the storm howled louder, as if the world itself warned them. But inside the shelter, Kale's words created a fragile warmth. The next morning, Lyra carried her daughter to the waterline. Other colonists were there too, faces gray with hunger, voices low with fear. They looked at her differently now, some with pity, some with curiosity, for they had seen her stand in the outpost. They had heard her desperate words. One of the men whispered, "Is it true you offered yourself to them?" His eyes sharp, his tone heavy. Lyra's face burned. She hugged her daughter tighter. "I did what I had to," she answered, but before shame could swallow her, Kale appeared, his presence strong, his voice loud enough for all to hear. "She did not bow," Kyle said firmly. "She fought in her own way. She begged for her child's life, and that is more courage than most of you have shown." His eyes cut across the group, piercing each of them. The colonists shifted uncomfortably, but something in Kyle's words stirred them, a reminder of the fire they once carried. Later, when the sun sank behind the storm, Kale led Lyra to an old mining shaft, hidden beneath broken machines and fallen metal. "This place was sealed years ago," he explained, his voice low. "The aliens never searched it deeply. They thought it was worthless." Inside, the air was damp, the walls cracked, but Kale's hands moved with memory. He pulled away stones, shifted metal, until at last, something strange was revealed. A box, covered in dust, its surface marked with human symbols. Lyra gasped. "What is it?" Kale touched the box carefully, his eyes burning. "A weapon, one of the last from the wars. I thought it was lost, but it is here, waiting." Her heart raced, fear and wonder mixing. But if they find it, if they know, Kale's expression hardened. They cannot know, not yet. This weapon is not just steel, it is a message, proof that humans still have teeth. His voice dropped to a whisper. "When the time is right, we will strike." Lyra's hands shook. She wanted to believe, but doubt clung to her. "And if we fail?" Kale looked at her, his face carved with scars, his eyes unbroken. "Then we fail fighting, not begging, not crawling, but standing." For a moment, silence filled the dark shaft. Only the storm above echoed through the room. "It cracks." Lyra held her daughter closer. She felt the cold biting at her skin, but also a new heat rising in her chest. Hope mixed with fear, despair mixed with fire. Above them, unseen, a small device blinked red in the shadows. A transmitter hidden in the rock, sending their voices into the alien network. The commander would soon hear everything. And while Lyra clung to her daughter, while Kyle touched the weapon with quiet resolve, the storm outside grew darker, carrying the promise of war. The storm raged across the frozen colony. The winds screamed like angry ghosts. The night sky glowed faintly with alien lights patrolling overhead. Inside the cracked shelters, humans tried to sleep, but fear never let them rest. Lyra held her daughter close. The child's breathing was steady now, but her feet still showed the marks of cold, purple fading slowly. Every time Lyra looked at them, her chest ached. She kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, "I will keep you safe, I promise." Her words soft and fragile. Cale sat near the doorway of the shelter, silent, his eyes fixed on the storm outside. He seemed carved from stone, but Lyra could see the weight pressing on him. She remembered his words, about fighting, about not crawling, and she wondered if humans like him were the last spark left in this frozen world. The next day, Cale gathered the colonists in the abandoned warehouse. Broken walls and rusted beams surrounded them. Men and women stood with tired faces, their bodies thin, their eyes dull. Cale's voice cut through the silence. "You think survival is enough," he said, his voice steady. "You think waiting and begging will save you. But look around. Your children starve, your homes crumble. Every day they take more. And one day, they will take the last piece of you." The crowd shifted uneasily, whispers running through them. Some shook their heads, some lowered their eyes. One man shouted, "What can we do, Cale? They have weapons, they have ships. We are nothing but bones and scraps." Cale's gaze burned. "That is what they want you to believe, but history tells another story. Do you know what it means to be human?" He stepped closer, his scars catching the dim light. "It means we have always been underestimated. We have always been pushed to the edge, and yet when the moment comes, we rise." Lyra stood at the side, holding her daughter. She felt her heart race. Cale's words were not just sounds. They were fire. They spread through the cold room, lighting something long buried. Cale reached into his coat and pulled out a small object, a piece of the weapon from the mines, no bigger than his hand. It glowed faintly, a memory of human technology. The crowd gasped, their eyes widening. "This is proof," Cale declared. "Our strength is not gone. Our fight is not finished. The aliens believe we are broken, but we are only sleeping." His voice rose, echoing against the walls. "And it is time to wake." For a moment, the warehouse shook with silence, then whispers spread, hope mixing with fear. Some faces lit with courage, others tightened with doubt. Lyra felt her daughter tug at her sleeve. The little girl whispered, "Mama, is he telling the truth?" Lyra's eyes stung with tears. She nodded slowly. "Yes, he is." But high above, hidden in the rafters, the transmitter blinked red again, sending every word across the cold airwaves, far away in the alien command post. The silver-skinned commander listened, his glowing eyes narrowing, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "So," the alien hissed, "the humans still dream of rebellion, then let them dream, and let them pay for it." His claws tapped against the table, a signal sent to his guards. That night, Cale walked with Lyra through the colony streets. The storm had quieted, the snow falling softer. "They listened," he said in a low voice. "Some of them are ready. I saw it in their eyes." Lyra hugged her daughter tighter. "But others are afraid, Cale. Fear can kill hope before it grows." Cale looked at her, his expression unyielding. "Fear is natural, but courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing anyway, and if they see even one mother refuse to bow, even one man stand against the enemy, they will follow." Her chest tightened. She had never seen herself as strong, only desperate, yet Cale's words made her believe strength could be born from desperation. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed across the colony. A horn, deep and harsh. Alien lights flooded the streets. Guards marching, their weapons glowing, voices shouting in the alien tongue. Cale pulled Lyra and her daughter into the shadows, his voice sharp. "They know, they are coming." Alien guards kicked open doors, dragging colonists out, accusing them of plots, of whispers, of rebellion. Screams filled the night. The humans trembled. Some begged, some cried. Cale clenched his fists, his jaw tight. "This is my fault," he muttered. But Lyra shook her head. "No, Cale, this is the truth showing itself. They fear us. That is why they strike now." They watched as the aliens pulled a group of men and women into the square, beating them down, warning the rest of the colony. The commander's voice boomed through a machine. "There will be no rebellion. There will be no hope. Those who dream will die." The colonists lowered their eyes, but Cale whispered fiercely, "Every lash of their cruelty is another spark, and sparks together make fire." The mother held her child close, watching as the snow turned red under alien boots, her tears hot against her frozen cheeks. Cale's eyes burned beside her. He was no longer just a soldier hiding in the shadows. He was the flame the aliens could not put out. And as the night dragged on, as the screams faded, as silence returned, something invisible spread through the broken colony. Not fear, not despair, but the first whisper of defiance. The aliens believed they had crushed the humans again. But in truth, they had given them something new, a reason to fight. The spark had been lit, and sparks once born could grow into fire. The colony woke to silence. The storm had passed, leaving a thick layer of ice across the ground. The air was sharp, the kind that froze words before they left the tongue. But inside the shelters, whispers moved like fire in dry grass. People spoke in hushed voices, their eyes darting to the streets, afraid the aliens might hear, afraid but also hungry for something new. They whispered about the mother who had begged not for herself but for her child, about the soldier who had stood tall before the alien guards, about the night when humans dared to gather again in the old warehouse. Lyra felt those whispers when she walked through the colony. Some looked at her with pity, others with respect, but all eyes carried the same question. Was she truly the woman who would risk herself for her daughter? And was the scarred man truly who they thought he was? Kael, meanwhile, moved quietly among the people. He spoke little, but every word he gave landed like a stone on still water, ripples spreading outward. Courage, he told one man as he shared a scrap of food, is not for the strongest. It is for those who choose to rise even when they are weak. Hope, he told a mother cradling her child, is not a dream. It is a weapon, sharper than any blade. Soon, those words traveled beyond Kael himself, passed from mouth to mouth, each retelling shaping him into something more than a man, into a symbol. But the aliens also felt the change. Their patrols grew harsher, their voices sharper. The silver-skinned commander stood inside the outpost, his glowing eyes narrowed. The humans whisper too much, he said coldly. Silence them before the whispers turn to fire. That evening, the commander ordered raids. Soldiers moved through the colony, smashing doors, searching for hidden weapons, dragging away anyone who dared speak too loudly. Lyra clutched her daughter when the soldiers passed her shelter, her heart racing. Kael stood ready near the doorway, his hand on a hidden blade, his body tense. But the soldiers did not enter. They marched past, their footsteps heavy in the snow. When the danger faded, Lyra whispered, "How long before they take someone else, Kael? How long before they come for me, for her?" Kael's voice was steady but dark. "They will, because they are afraid. They sense what is coming." The next day, Kael led Lyra and a few trusted colonists back to the hidden mining shaft, the weapons still buried deep in the shadows. He showed them more of it, wires and metal shining faintly under their lights. One man gasped, "Is this real? Can this thing truly fight them?" Kael nodded, his eyes fierce. "This is human work, built for war. It listens only to us, and when the time comes, it will obey." Fear rippled through the group, but so did awe. Lyra looked at Kael, her voice trembling. "If they discover this, they will burn us all." Kael's answer was quiet, but unshaken. "If we hide forever, we are already dead." That night, the whispers grew louder. Even children repeated them, voices carrying secret fire. "Kael has a weapon. The mother's child lives. The aliens are afraid." The silver-skinned commander heard of these whispers, and his fury deepened. He summoned his officers, his voice like thunder. "Cut the whispers at the root. Find the man, find the woman. Break them before their names become banners of war." Unaware of the commander's exact plans, Kael prepared. He taught small groups how to move silently, how to share food without drawing eyes, how to signal without words. He told them stories too, of ancient battles, of humans facing armies far stronger. "We won not because we were stronger," he said, "but because we never surrendered." People listened, and each story planted another seed, but seeds take time to grow, and danger does not wait. One evening, when Lyra returned from the waterline, she noticed shadows moving near her shelter, alien soldiers watching her steps. Her blood turned to ice. She rushed inside, holding her daughter close. "Kael," she whispered, "they are watching us." Kael's eyes hardened, his hand tightening on the blade. "Then they suspect, which means we have little time left." Outside, the colony looked the same, cold, broken, silent. But inside the hearts of humans, something new stirred, something the aliens had not seen in years. The whispers had spread, and whispers could not be killed with boots and claws. They lived in every mother who feared for her child, in every man who stared at the frozen sky with anger, in every child who asked why they had no bread. The commander thought he ruled a silent colony, but what he ruled now was a field ready for fire, and Kael knew the first flame was close. The night began with silence, the kind that made the air heavy and the heart uneasy. Snow fell soft over the colony, covering the broken homes and cracked streets like a thin blanket, but even the snow could not hide the fear. Lyra sat with her daughter in the shelter, the girls breathing calm for once, her small hands warm against her chest. Lyra closed her eyes, trying to believe the peace would last, but deep down she knew it was fragile, like glass ready to shatter. Kale stood outside, his eyes scanning the dark. The whispers had spread too far, too quickly. He knew the aliens would not wait long, and when they came, they would come with claws and fire. The silence broke with a horn, deep and harsh. It echoed across the colony, shaking the walls. Alien soldiers marched into the streets, their armor glowing under strange lights, their voices sharp as they shouted commands. Doors were kicked open, humans dragged into the snow, cries filled the air, fear swallowed the colo. Lyra jumped at the sound, clutching her daughter. Kale rushed inside, his face hard, his voice sharp. They know, they are here for us. Before she could answer, the door crashed open. 2 alien guards stormed inside, their glowing eyes fixed on Lyra. One hissed in the alien tongue. The woman, the one who begged, the one who whispers, take her. Kyle moved fast, his blade flashing. He struck one across the arm, sparks flying. The other lunged forward, knocking him back. Lyra screamed, holding her daughter tight. The aliens dragged her toward the door, her child crying, Mama, don't go! Her voice piercing the night. Kyle roared, slamming his blade into the guard's chest, forcing him to the ground. But the second guard pulled Lyra outside, her cries echoing, her daughter's small hands reaching for air. The square filled with humans forced into the snow. Soldiers lined them up. The commander stood tall on a platform, his silver skin glowing under the lights, his voice loud and cruel. This colony dares to whisper, dares to dream of rebellion. Then let them see the price. Lyra was thrown to the ground before him. Her daughter's sobs carried from the crowd. The commander sneered. This woman begged for food. She begged for mercy. Now she will beg for life. The humans lowered their eyes, trembling, fear choking them. But Kale stepped into the square, his blade in hand, his voice like thunder. Enough! The commander's eyes narrowed. You again, he hissed. The soldier who thinks he is more than a slave. Kyle's chest rose with fury. I am human, and I will never bow to you. The crowd gasped, whispers rushing like fire through dry leaves. The guards moved toward him, but Kyle raised his blade high, and from the shadows of the mines a sound answered. Metal groaned, lights flickered, then a massive shape rose from the ground, covered in ice and dust, its red eyes glowing in the night. The ancient war drone had awakened. The commander's face twisted with shock. Impossible, he spat. Those machines were destroyed. But the drone's voice rumbled, deep and mechanical. Command received, human. Its guns unfolded, its body towering, the air filled with power. The colonists stared in awe, their fear turning to something else, something stronger. Kale's voice rang out. We are not broken, we are not slaves, we are human. The drone fired, beams of light tearing through the snow. Alien soldiers fell, their armor shattered, their screams lost under the roar of war. Chaos filled the square. Humans scattered. Some grabbed stones, some grabbed old tools, striking at the guards with desperate fury. Lyra crawled to her daughter, holding her close, tears streaming down her face. We are safe, my love. We are safe, she whispered. Though the battle still raged, Kale fought beside the drone, his blade cutting through armor, his body moving with the strength of memory. Each strike carried not just his own fury, but the fury of every human who had ever crawled in the snow. The commander screamed, calling for reinforcements, but the drone's voice thundered. Target locked. Missiles streaked into the sky, striking alien patrol ships, fire raining down. The colony burned, but it was not only destruction, it was rebirth. The humans no longer begged, no longer hid. They rose with stones, with fists, with voices shouting Kale's name, shouting for freedom. The commander retreated into the shadows, his glowing eyes full of rage, his voice a promise. This is not the end, humans. This is only the beginning. As the fires dimmed, as silence slowly returned, Kyle stood in the square, blood and snow on his coat, the drone towering behind him, its red eyes scanning the horizon. Lyra stood with her daughter in her arms, her eyes meeting his. She whispered, You kept your promise, Kale. You lit the fire. He nodded, his voice low. This was only the first strike. They will come again, stronger. Boom. But now they know we will not crawl, not anymore. And as the humans gathered, their whispers no longer afraid, the fire of rebellion burned bright against the cold. The smoke from the first strike still hung over the colony. Broken walls glowed red with fire. The snow melted into black water that hissed as it touched hot metal. The humans stood among the ruins, breathing hard, their eyes wide, their hearts beating with something they had not felt in years. pride, Lyra held her daughter close, the girl's small hands clinging to her neck. The child whispered softly, "Mama, we are free now." But Lyra's heart twisted. She knew this was not true. Freedom was not yet theirs. Freedom had only been glimpsed like light behind a storm. Kale stood in the square, his blade dripping, his chest heaving. The war drone loomed behind him, its red eyes scanning, its deep voice humming like thunder. The humans watched him with awe, their whispers turning into chants. "Kyle, Kyle, Kyle." For a moment the colony felt alive again, but Kale's face stayed hard. He looked to the sky where alien ships still circled far above. He knew the first strike had cut them, but it had not broken them. The true war had only begun. That night, Kale gathered the colonists in the warehouse once more, his voice steady but heavy. "You fought tonight. You showed them we are not weak, but listen to me. They will return, and when they do, they will not come with claws alone. They will come with fire, with machines, with an army." The people lowered their eyes, fear pressing against their pride. One man whispered, "Then what hope do we have, Kale? We cannot fight their war machines with stones." Kale's gaze sharpened. "We fight with what we have. We fight with our spirit, and we fight with this." He turned toward the drone, its red eyes glowing brighter. "This machine is more than steel. It is a voice for our past, a reminder that humans once stood tall against the stars, and we will again." The drone's deep voice rumbled. "Unit active, awaiting command, enemies detected." Gasps filled the room. The colonists stared with wonder. Lyra's daughter whispered, "It listens to us, Mama. It listens to Kale." Kale placed his hand on the machine's cold armor. "It listens because it was built to serve humanity, not to rule us, not to crush us, but to protect us." But far beyond the colony, in the alien command ship, the silver-skinned commander listened to reports, his voice like venom. "They woke a war drone. They lit fire in the hearts of slaves, then let us show them the weight of true power." He gestured, and the great war machines stirred, towering giants of alien metal. The next day, the sky cracked with light as the war machines descended, their heavy steps shaking the ground, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The humans froze in fear, some falling to their knees, but Kyle stood tall, his voice cutting through the panic. "Do not bow, do not run. This is our home, and we fight for it." The drone moved forward, its cannons rising, its red eyes burning. "Engaging enemy units," it declared. The battle began, fire tearing through the colony, alien machines firing beams that melted stone and steel, the war drone answering with missiles and lasers. The ground shook, the air burned, the humans scattered but did not flee. They carried water, they carried stones, they pulled the wounded from the fire. Lyra ran through the chaos, her daughter hidden in the cellar of a shelter. She carried cloth and water to the fighters, her hands shaking but her will strong. She was no longer just a mother begging for food. She was a mother fighting for a future. Kale clashed with alien soldiers, his blade moving like lightning. Every strike carried fury, every block carried purpose. But the enemy was endless, stronger, faster. The war drone fought fiercely, but the alien war machines pressed harder, beams striking its armor, shaking its frame. The Chiu. Amander's voice roared from the sky. "You cannot win, humans. You are dust, and dust returns to nothing." But Kale shouted back, his voice carrying through fire and smoke. "We are more than dust. We are the storm, and storms never kneel." The colonists, inspired, threw themselves into the fight, men and women striking with tools, children carrying water, even the wounded dragging themselves to aid the living. It was not a battle of weapons alone. It was a battle of dignity. Lyra's daughter crawled from the cellar despite her mother's orders, carrying a piece of bread she had saved. She handed it to a wounded fighter, her voice small but strong. "Eat, so you can keep fighting." The man's eyes filled with tears as he took it. The sight spread like fire. Humans helping humans, each act of courage a weapon, each drop of kindness a shield. Kale saw it, his heart pounding, his voice fierce. "Do you see, Commander? You can break our walls, you can burn our homes, but you cannot break what we carry inside." The commander watched from his ship, his glowing eyes narrowing, his claws scraping against steel. For the first time he felt something strange, not just anger but fear. The battle raged through the night, the colony burning, the snow turned to steam, the war machines pressing, the drone standing tall, Kale fighting at its side, Lyra running with bandages and water, her daughter feeding fighters with her tiny hands. And though the aliens poured their power into the fight, the humans did not fall because they were no longer crawling, no longer silent, they were standing. And standing humans, Kale knew, could not be broken. The colony was fire and ash, the night sky torn apart by beams of light. Alien war machines towered above the humans, their weapons glowing with death. Yet in the streets, the people did not run, they did not bow. They stood together. Kale fought with his blade until his arms bled, every strike carving into alien armor, every cry of pain from his people fueling his fury. Beside him, the war drone roared with cannons and missiles, its red eyes glowing like burning stars. Lyra rushed between the wounded, her hands stained with blood, her body trembling with exhaustion. But she never stopped. She tied cloth to wounds. She carried water through smoke. She whispered to every fighter, "Stand, please stand, for your children, for us all." Her daughter, too young for war yet too strong for silence, carried scraps of bread to the fighters, her tiny feet still scarred from the cold, but she walked through fire and smoke, her voice small but clear. "Eat, please eat, don't stop fighting." And every man and woman who took food from her hands felt their courage rise. The commander watched from his ship above, his silver skin reflecting the glow of fire, his voice a hiss of fury. How dare they stand? How dare they resist? Crush them, break them. His claws tore across the command table, but in his glowing eyes there was something new, a flicker of unease. One of his officers spoke carefully. "Commander, they are not fighting with strength. They are fighting with something else. Something we cannot burn," the commander snarled, but he said nothing. The war machines pressed forward, their beams slamming into the drone, sparks and smoke pouring from its frame, its deep voice rumbling. "Armor failing, systems breaking," Kale shouted. "Hold, just hold!" His blade flashing as he cut down another alien guard. The colonists fought with tools, with stones, with fire torn from burning walls. They fought not to win, but to show they would never crawl again, and each act of defiance cut deeper into the enemy than any blade. Lyra's daughter stumbled, her small body weak. Kale saw her fall and rushed to her, catching her before she touched the burning ground. She looked up at him, her eyes tired but shining. "Don't let them take Mama. Don't let them take anyone," she whispered. Kale's heart clenched, his scars burning with new fire. He rose with the child in his arms, his voice booming across the battlefield. "This is humanity, Commander. This child with nothing but courage. This mother with nothing but love. These people with nothing but hope. And still they stand. Still they fight. Can you not see it? Can you not fear it?" The humans roared with him, their voices echoing across the ruins, louder than the alien machines, stronger than the commander's threats. The drone staggered as another blast struck, its frame cracking, its voice breaking. Core unstable, self-destruction possible. Kale looked up at it, his eyes heavy. "Then do it, if you must, but make it count." The drone's red eyes glowed brighter, its voice calm. "For humanity." Then it launched itself into the sky, fire bursting from its engines, missiles firing at full force. It crashed into the largest alien war machine, the explosion tearing the night apart, fire swallowing the sky. The shockwave knocked humans and aliens alike to the ground. Silence followed. Only fire and smoke remained. The commander's voice crackled through the air, filled with fury. "Retreat, retreat now!" His ship turned in the distance, alien war machines stumbling back, the army pulling away. The humans lay in the ruins, their bodies broken, but their hearts burning. They watched as the enemy retreated, disbelief and joy mixing in their eyes. Lyra held her daughter close, tears streaming. "You'll never be cold again, my love, never again." Her voice breaking but full of hope. Kale stood among the survivors, his blade broken, his body covered in wounds, but his eyes alive. "We did not win with strength," he said softly, though all could hear. "We won because we refused to kneel, because humanity's answer to tyranny is not fear, it is defiance, it is love, it is hope." The colonists gathered around him, their whispers gone, replaced by voices strong and loud. We are human, they cried, their voices rising into the night. Far away, the commander sat in his retreating ship, his claws shaking, his glowing eyes dark. He whispered to himself, "They are dangerous, not because of their weapons, but because of their hearts." And in that moment, even he feared what was to come. Back in the colony, Kale looked at the ruins, at the people who stood unbroken, at the child who had fed soldiers with her tiny hands, at the mother who had begged once but now stood tall. He whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning." The fire of rebellion had been born, and no storm, no chain, no enemy could ever put it out again. Humanity's answer was clear, and it would echo across the stars.